Last week, I began a 2-part miniseries talking about why you should watch Bleach in 2022, before the return of the final arc this fall. The second part will be out sometime next week or week after. This week, I want to talk about something more important, and that is the conclusion of the second core of 86's first season. But before I begin, if you're enjoying the content I'm putting out and aren't subscribed yet, you could be missing out on loads of cool content. Leaving a subscription is the best way to show your support and is always greatly appreciated. So I hope you'll consider joining the fam. Alright, let's get on to the video. Contrary to popular belief, what aired last Saturday was not the conclusion to a Season 2. Moreover, it was the end of the second core. People did the same thing with Jobless Reincarnation's second core. Neither of the second cores are a second season. As of right now, there is no word on a Season 2 for 86, but the story still has plenty of places to go, and the source material is still going, I believe. Many fans of the show weren't happy with the production issues that plagued the anime. The first few weeks aired as normal, but it became one episode every other week until episode 11, which aired the week before last. Episode 12 aired this previous Saturday to conclude the second core. It certainly took a slower approach compared to the first core, where every episode built upon the mountain of raw emotion and snowballed into a heart-wrenching end. The first core focused mostly on Lena and the Republic of San Magnolia, providing a background for the main story. We learned of the Alba and the atrocious way they treated the 86. We saw firsthand some of the things that went on behind closed doors, but most importantly, we were given a window into the world that the 86 lived in. The final few episodes of the first core were an emotional roller coaster, with Lena coming to terms with herself and her duty after visiting her squadron's base. Being their commanding officer, each death weighed her down like a deadweight. Having 16 total members of the Spearhead Squadron at the start of the first core to only 5 by the end. Well, you can imagine just how much different life became for the remaining members. Sheen, Raiden, Kurena, Anju, and Theo, and how much it impacted Lena herself. She even became known as Bloody Regina. Lena made a promise to her squad and to herself, and she wasn't about to break it. The second core, despite its production issues, continued the story of the remainder of the Spearhead Squadron and shifted its focus away from Lena for most of the 12-episode run. Of course, it wouldn't be 86 without Lena, and she certainly had her role to play in the final episode, which I'll get to here in a couple minutes. The first core pulled the wool over many viewers' eyes, having us believe the Giadian Empire was a threat and bore responsibility for the Legion, which to some degree they did, but most of that would turn out to be nothing but fodder from the higher-ups in the military and government ranks. Lena saw right through the facade, which already made her a highly unique character, but it was her determination and willpower that really encouraged her growth into one of the most dynamic characters we've seen in a long time. The overall conflict of the story are the Legion and the havoc they wreak on surrounding countries, but there are also the 86 and their servitude to the Republic. The Spearhead Squadron manages to be the only one that escapes the rule and are eventually picked up by the Giadian Empire. This is where the second core really slows down, and for good reason. We were given a glimpse into what a normal life could be like for Sheen and the others, taken in by Ernst Zimmerman and Frederica, the actual head of state of the Giadian Empire. Sheen and everyone else got to experience Christmas and various other holidays. They got to wear normal clothes and sleep in actual beds. They were able to live a life they never had, free from the hateful glares and remarks of colored, in reference to their various hair colors, from the Alba people. But it's hard to take the war out of a soldier. Sheen and the rest of the Spearhead Squad would continue to fight the Legion. It was all they really knew how to do. While I am in support of letting them have that freedom to do what they've chosen to do, their return to the battlefield highlights the trained nature they developed during their time as 86. A sad reality, but something that had to be done, and they all knew it. During an encounter with Frederica, Sheen comes to learn that his brother, Kiria Nozen, was her personal knight and caretaker, shifting the story's focus to Pale Rider and the plot to destroy the Legion and Morpho. From this point on, Sheen is faced with his own personal battle to free his dead brother from the clutches of the Legion and find solace for himself. and there's no easy way around that. It creates conflict within the spearhead themselves, Shin nearly losing his mind and his life in the process at times, as he comes to terms with what he has to do. It's an absolutely heart-wrenching story at times, but the fact that no one gave up on each other the entire time is what is truly astounding. As many people already know, war is unforgiving, no matter the medium and who or what is being fought. Emotions and tensions are both high, and while it's not a perfect representation of human antagonism that started the fight in this case, the repercussions are still clearly evident. The entire Republic goes down in a symbolic sea of flames, as it could be said that the fire in Lena's heart set everything ablaze with passion. Just as Shin had to fight his battle, Lena had to fight hers as well. She had to push on, knowing full well the account of the losses she endured along the way. Death always lurked in the shadows, and to some degree, it became a driving force of the story itself. War is not without its victims, and 86 portrayed that bitter reality in ways most anime of the mecha genre simply can't do. Lena and Shin's, really the remaining Spearhead Squadron, reunion at the end of episode 12 was really what brought the grueling months of war to a somewhat more bearable situation. At the end of episode 11, Lena is asked about the mark on Shin's mech, but of course she doesn't know what it is because she hasn't been around the Spearhead Squadron. Hence why this little cliffhanger at the end of the episode was the perfect build to an emotional reunion the following week. This was a perfect end. Lena, metaphorically, never stopped chasing after her squad, and as fate would have it, she is assigned to the very same squad, now with the Giadian forces. What makes this even better is the fact that, as viewers, we're already comfortable and familiar with the 86 as we've watched them live out their lives this entire time, from the outer districts of San Magnolia to their new home in the Giadian Empire. Nobody realized that the only person who hadn't seen the remaining 5 of Spearhead was Lena, but it doesn't end there. As the main heroine of the story, most of the focus was on Lena, and when that shifted during the second core, there was this sort of hungering to see more of her again. But she had to walk through hell before she could even begin to step foot inside paradise. Lena made a promise at the end of the first core, and her feet never left the ground, not until she would reach that final destination. That's what made this such a perfect end to what became a very powerful anime. Whether you believe in fate or not, what brought Lena and Shin together can't be described as much else, from day one until the war has reached its bitter end. The whole of the 86 anime was structured in a way that could only lead to the epic conclusion it reached last week. But like I said earlier, that doesn't mean it's completely finished. What Lena decides to do next and how the Spearhead Squadron will take to their now reunited captain, well, we will just have to wait and see.